This is TWiT.
Let's say I'm running a more traditional enterprise and I'm just starting to migrate my infrastructure into the cloud. And I start hearing about microservices. And my IT guy is coming to me and saying, well, we should start thinking about this. What changes do I need to make on my internal team that has been developing huge applications over the course of decades, where I'm now going to say, well, instead of one big dev team, I've got 40 dev teams, and each are responsible for this little bit and piece of an app that they need to create and following the rules of the API. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen when companies move into that? And then what are the ways that they can avoid those mistakes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think there's two big mistakes that they make. One is not changing the org at all and trying to approach these techniques. There are changes in how teams work that have to be adopted. And the second mistake they make is doing it all at once. Looking at their big environment and saying, okay, well, I'm going to change this from one monolith into 40 microservices and create 40 teams and do that all on day one. Because that's just not going to be successful for most people. You got to start somewhere, start small with one or two services that extend or add on to the side or change some component of an application that you have today. But for that starting point, yes, you have to build a team that can own that service end to end. I think one of the really important ideas of microservices is that the team that owns that service owns the entire life cycle of that service. They build it, they test it, they deploy it, they operate it, they can change it whenever they need to change it as independently as possible from everything else going on around them, which is why things like APIs are so important. I look at ourselves. I mean, IBM, we're pioneering a lot of these ideas, but we also apply them to ourselves. And, we're a big enterprise that's been around for a long time. So we have a lot of the same transformation challenges that a lot of our customers have. And one of the first things we did in our journey around IBM Cloud is we created a new model and how we organized our teams. And we created what we call tribes and squads that was modeled after how Spotify does their development. And the idea with tribes and squads was exactly that, to have co-located teams that owned a service end to end, right? And that was not how we were organized before. And that's been, I think, really critical to being successful. So when I go talk to clients, we talk to them not only about our platform and our technologies, but also how they can transform their development practices to be successful in exploiting these things.
All right. Cheebert, is this something that you would use on your campus? Because, it sounds like it's right up your alley.
Yeah, actually, I've got a problem that I've got more data than I know what to do with. So that's one issue. But I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of streaming video coming off our subs, our underwater cables, and our ROVs. And we'd love to have a way of recognizing species, but also making it so that we could have different research groups do different types of analysis on the data that's coming in, both acoustic and video. So I guess the question is, from that kind of standpoint, what kinds of things do I need to start looking at to try and adopt microservices? And more importantly, how do I integrate, say, Watson in there to do things like fish, oceanographic species identification from my video streams?
Yeah, it's a great scenario. And in fact, one that we've felt is, really fertile area for applying Watson. We, in fact, have a video unit as part of IBM Cloud that specifically enables kind of live streaming and video applications as part of our cloud platform. And one of the things we've been doing is exactly what you're describing, which is applying some of the image and video recognition capabilities of Watson to those video applications. So we can, you can do simple things like auto tag videos with what's in them, what kind of objects and stuff, so you can do better search. And that's all trainable. Like we have a customer who's doing something similar to what you're describing, which is they're using Watson to do maintenance of cell phone towers. So instead of sending a person to climb a tower and determine if there's any maintenance issues with that tower, they're flying drones around the tower, doing live video streaming off of the drone, feeding the video streams to Watson, and they've trained Watson with imagery about maintenance problems. Like, this is what rust and maintenance faults in these towers look like versus good towers. And that enables that application to automatically identify towers that might have problems without having to send people up there. And so I think the scenario you're talking about is similar, where you could take those video streams of underwater imagery, train Watson on species that you know about, and have Watson identify those species, or at least identify interesting segments of that video that would have further analysis. So, those are great scenarios that, these platforms are designed to help you build. Right?
Yeah, I think that clears it up for a lot of our audience there. Then, in that, the applications for which microservices are best are those applications that deal with very complex problems that can be broken down into small component pieces. Anytime you can do that, that's a natural fit for a microservice.
Or an application that's changing a lot, right?
Precisely.
One that has a high rate of change.
Precisely. Well, that's a very nice way to look at it. And you know what? It's nice to have someone who can come in and actually explain something that has been a buzzword for a lot of people. And microservices now is what cloud computing was 5 years ago.